Hi. Welcome to another episode of Fave 5 from Fans, the podcast, where we explore all things favorite. And today is the end of 2024. And to do that right, you really have to kind of come back and look at the year past before we can look into the year forward. And, one, two, three, four. What are you, six times now? Five or six time guest.
I think so. Six-time guest, mentioned a few times. Just what a way to end. What a way to end the year. End the year with a banger, which is me.
So we, of course, are talking about Bram Stoker nominated Mark C. Scioneaux. He's an author. He's an editor. He's a dungeon master, game maker. He's all of these things and so much more. I mean, really, what can I say? I mean, you're nationwide, baby.
Something has to stick. Something has to work. I don't know. I'm just gonna 20
candy connoisseur.
Yeah, well,
like you got Willy Wonka's on his knees. He's trembling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Mark reached out to me and said, "Hey, why don't we end the year talking about our favorite horror movies from 2024?" And I believe your exact words were, "It was a banger of a year for horror."
Yes, it was. It was a great year for horror.
Yeah.
Some years are dud years, some years are okay years, and then you have years like this year where you have just so many really good movies, and the genre of a whole is just so well represented through just all different types of the subgenres of horror. You had
Yeah.
your dreadful movies, tense movies, you had funny movies, you had slashers, you had monsters, you had demons, you had everything. It was just an incredible year.
Smorgasbord.
Oh, big time. And
Yeah.
it's just a great year for horror. And I always, at the end of every year, I kind of put out a year in review where I discuss the 10 horror films of the year. I list a ton of honorable mentions. And then I also list other things that, maybe TV shows or books or whatever, and kind of do a recap of the year of horror. And this was one of those years where making my list, it was very hard making this list. And up until yesterday, I was still I was still shuffling around, the honorable mentions, everything, because man, there are just so many good movies this year.
I was still watching movies yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one movie I just could not get to that is on that seems to be highly reviewed and regarded, and that's just, oh well, I can't get to all of them.
But
But
there is one movie brand spanking new that I'm positive is on your list.
oh yeah, oh
Thanks
yeah,
to
and I
your
knew it was
Facebook.
gonna
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna be before I saw it, and sure enough, it delivered, and we'll get to it when we get to it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, awesome. Well, I mean, I say we get to it right now. And
okay.
as the season of Christmas is still here, I have decided to give unto you the gift of 5 honorable mentions.
Wow. The word
Ho,
benevolent.
ho, ho.
What did you call me? What? The word benevolent isn't used often, and it should be, for you are a benevolent podcast host.
God is okay. I mean, you could say that in podcasting. God.
God. Well, it'd be something if I had 7 honorable mentions to the honorable mentions.
It would be.
Um, it
And
would
I'll
be.
call your dad.
Oh, geez. Let's not end the year on a sour note. Um, yeah, okay. Well, then I will start off with my honorable mention number 5, which is the movie Strange Darling.
Okay, one I did not get to see.
Yes, I highly recommend it. It's a movie about a one night stand, which turns into a serial killer spree movie. There are a lot of twists and turns in it, so do not be like me. And while watching the movie, Google a stupid question and then get the entire movie spoiled for you right there. Just don't. You didn't miss anything. You just need to watch the movie.
Hmm.
Uh, Willa Fitzgerald plays a character called the Lady. Kyle Gallner plays a man called the Demon. And I will just say with this movie, you think it is going one way, and then it flips you totally on your head, and you just have a wild serial killer romp, a real kind of cat and mouse kind of movie that was
Yeah.
just really, really good, and stayed with me a good bit after I watched it. Wasn't enough to make the Fave Five, but certainly worthy enough to make um, what is essentially my favorite 10.
Okay. Strange Darling. Got it. Do you remember where you watched it?
I rented it on Prime
Okay.
because it was I think I had a bunch of Prime credits and people were telling me to watch it. And I think I was able to rent it for free. And
Oh,
I think it's one of the cheaper movies right now.
cool. Okay.
So
That's number five of your honorable mentions. What's
okay.
number four?
Number four, honorable mention is Speak No Evil.
Okay.
That that is a remake of a recent film from 2022. I think it was a either a Dutch or a Danish film, which was super,
Mm,
super bleak film.
Danish.
That was, I know, you think it's delicious, but it's not. James McAvoy is great. He's a good actor, and
Yeah.
he put on a lot of weight and a lot of muscle for this movie. So you
Mm,
really kind of believe that he could be an imposing threat. Um, the movie centers around an American couple who meet another couple while on vacation in Europe, and they invite them to their home for the weekend. And as they are at the home, just so many sinister and things just start happening that lets this couple know that something is not right, and perhaps they walked into a kind of a trap.
Something
Um,
rotten in the state of Denmark.
right? I don't
Mm.
think it's in Denmark. I think well, so the original I think was Denmark. The remake, I believe it's like a oh, what is it? It's an American couple and a British couple, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, they changed enough, and then with the
I don't know.
remake, they gave the more Hollywood satisfying ending,
Yeah.
as opposed to the original, which is full on dark. They did not hold back.
So you were able to
But it,
watch both?
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I watched the original when it came out in 2022 because I think it was a Shutter exclusive. The original was on Shutter,
oh, okay.
and the remake is, I believe, streaming on Peacock.
Okay.
But it really surprised me because normally movies that are remade so quickly like that are usually kind of duds, but this one was super good, super
Yeah.
good. So
I would say REC was a good example of being remade and still being good pretty
mhm.
quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they get it right.
A lot of
I think
times they
this,
don't.
and many times they do not, but this one
Many
they did.
times.
So, um, okay. Honorable mention number three is probably going to be on a lot of people's fave fives. And I had to juggle this one around because there's just too many good movies this year. Um, it is Late Night with the Devil.
Yes.
So it's a 1977 live broadcast, goes horribly wrong. You have this David Dasmalchian plays the host of a show called Night Owls, which is a competitor to Johnny Carson's show. And due to his wife dying a year previous, his show has kind of spiraled out of control. The ratings are down, so he throws a special show on Halloween where they bring in a girl who is possessed. Um, that he doesn't believe she's possessed, and well, it turns out she is possessed.
Yes.
And
Spoiler.
yeah, there's going to be, just a heads up to fans or people listening. There are going to be spoilers.
Not a
You
lot.
know,
We're going to try
there's
to
going to be
keep
a
them.
lot of spoilers. We're going to get into some of these movies, and if you don't want to, you need to skip ahead or pause the show and go watch the movie.
Yeah. Because this
But
is one that came out early
it did,
2024.
it came out early, and yeah, a lot of these movies with streaming, with everything, there's access to watch these. So,
Mhm.
Late Night with the Devil is streaming on Shutter. Again, just a really, like I said, I think any other year it would have made the Fave Five. But it's just such a good movie from beginning to end. It has a great ending. Just creepy. I love that found footagey. It has that
Hmm.
found footage feel to it. So yeah, Late Night with the Devil would be my number three.
Okay.
Um, Honorable mention number two is a movie I was sure was going to be in the Fave Five and got bumped down. It is Smile 2.
Oh yeah.
Naomi Scott, who does a fantastic job, plays a global pop star who witnesses something horrible and as a result is possessed by the smile demon, the smile entity, whatever it is. This is a movie for people who like their horror dark and unflinching, and there are no funny moments. It is just straight up dread, horror, and gore from start to finish. I think it has one of my favorite scary moments is when she's in her apartment and the demon manifest as her backup dancers, and you
Oh.
just have this. Oh, it's just like a wave of horror just coming at her, and the imagery, the smiling, of course, is so creepy and unsettling.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Smile 2 is my number two, and I think that one is also streaming. It's either Peacock or Paramount.
Yeah.
That one is streaming.
Okay.
That one,
Cool.
yeah, that one did a lot of justice to uh to the first movie. I mean, and the way I think it ended, they're going to set it up probably for another one.
Yeah. See, I always thought that this one should be called Smiles,
I know.
and then the
I
third
know.
one can be called More Smiles.
More
But
smiles.
nobody
Smile.
contacted me. I mean,
No,
tell these people I'm here. Ask me.
I'm here. I'm
Just ask me.
willing to take your money. Just nobody
All right.
asks.
So, what is your favorite honorable mention horror of 2024?
The movie I thought was gonna eventually be my number one until I watched more movies. And my
Mm-hmm.
favorite honorable mention is the movie Oddity,
Yes.
which is on Shudder. It is a story about a psychic medium who attempts to uncover the truth behind her sister's murder. I think it probably has the scene out of all the movies that got me the most and made me jump. Um,
Is it this one?
yeah, no, it wasn't
Nope.
that one. No,
Okay.
no, no, no. That
That
was
one
a good.
got me.
That one got no. The one that got me was the I think the sudden reveal when she's in the tent.
Oh, yeah.
That one made me jump, and I think I jumped and I laughed, and my heart sped up, and I was like, this is why I love horror.
Yeah.
It got me, and that was so awesome. It's such a good original movie. Yeah, just again another movie that's full of tension, full of dread, full of just wondering how is this going to play out. I think most people probably guessed what was actually afoot. Halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
But it still didn't spoil it.
no, it doesn't spoil it. Sometimes you want it to be what you think it's going to be. Um,
Because
but yeah,
sometimes
it just
it is the journey.
yes, and I love when Shudder just randomly releases a movie. They release them every Friday, I think, and sometimes they are just duds, and sometimes they become. I think in any other normal year, this would have been a fave five for sure.
Yeah.
And I recommend it definitely to everybody.
Mhm.
Um, who listens to me, which isn't many. Should just scream it out.
Wasn't going to say it.
Right, right,
I
right.
mean,
Which doesn't fare
viewership
well.
does dip whenever we're on
Yeah,
video, but
right, right. He has a he has a face for radio.
that's right.
Um, so yeah, those are my fave five honorable mentions um of 2024.
That's some good stuff.
And I
That
think
is some very good
that would
stuff.
alone, yeah, I think those alone would make a really good fave five list overall. But there were just five other movies that just did it for me a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I have several honorable mentions of my own. I did just three instead of the five because uh, I don't know. I'm not a jerk, so I didn't do
Right,
five. You know.
right, right.
So the first one on my list, I am actually, and these are in no particular order, is also going to be Late Night with the Devil.
Hmm.
I loved this film, and I too would have thought when I sat down to do this list that it would have been on my fave five. Um, I thought they did so much right. They definitely hit the atmosphere of a '70s style Johnny Carson late night type of show. I thought the guests that they brought on were really, really good. Also, there's supposed to be, I don't know, like 10 seconds worth of AI creation in it. I don't care. I mean,
There
it
was
was
there was a
good.
little there was a little graphic in the background, that they used AI for, and there was a uproar online that because of this, we need to boycott the whole movie. And I've
Yeah,
never been one for boycotting anything, and I don't understand. Yeah, okay, whatever. They used AI for a background graphic, but then we're also supposed to boycott all the actors and the director and all the people who put
yeah,
their energy and time into the movie just because of a graphic. It's your typical cancel culture run afoul, but whatever.
yeah, yeah. So I definitely say watch it for sure. I mean, we both agree it's a match. So I would
It
say,
is, and I think it was maybe it fell out of my five originally because it's funny. I don't want to say it's overhyped because it's not. It's really good, but it definitely became, I think, the movie of the year that was getting maybe just too much praise to
mhm,
where I think people were starting to try to poke holes in it because it's
yeah,
like, hold on,
oh,
it's like, yeah, this is too good. You can't.
unfairly. Yeah, yeah,
Unfairly, but it is a really great, again, another. I thought it was a fun original film. I think 2024 is so good with horror movies because it does not rely on um going back to just kind of doing rehashes of popular franchises.
yeah. No, I agree.
Like,
And it's
yeah,
also very unformulaic in that,
hmm
at least for my five, they're all vastly different films,
yes,
you know?
same.
So,
Oh, same.
yeah,
So, and I think, yeah, I think in previous years, you would get your Halloween movies, or you would get, a remake of another movie, and a lot of remakes. But this year, not so much. I mean, there were a couple really popular franchises that, you know, were that had movies, but for the vast majority of 2024, a lot of it was original stories.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, well, my first honorable mention, I mean, my second honorable mention is a Spanish film called Apocalypse Z. Okay, and it's the beginning of the end. Yeah, the beginning of the end. And so this is a story. Did you see this one?
No, I don't think
Okay,
I did see this one.
so this is I don't want to say typical zombie movie, but the movie basically starts out where this guy Manel and his wife Julia are
Hmm.
celebrating Christmas, and on the return home, they get into a car wreck where she dies. So then it jumps a year further, and he's living by himself with a cat, and he has a sister whose husband is in the military. And so this TJ virus starts to break out, and he's not really paying much attention to it. It's more lethal than COVID-19. And eventually, as it goes through, um, the sister calls and says, "Listen, we're going to the Canary Islands, and that we want you to join us." But before he can leave, the government closes down the borders, and so he's basically trapped. So he goes home and barricades himself in, and as they clear out the houses, he's basically left alone, or so he thinks. So it's about him going in and doing the things that really make sense. Where once he starts to run low on food, he starts to, he puts armor stuff all over him to protect him. Goes out and forages, meets an older lady who's also been housebound. Um, and so you've got all of this stuff going. He eventually goes to leave to get to the Canary Islands. He's got this great motorcycle escape chase. where he's riding through the country. And I'll tell you right now, if you haven't seen it, the movie is not, it does not wrap up. Okay. This is called the beginning of the end for a reason, because not to spoil the ending, but just it's just that it gets, and there's no summation, there's no conclusion. You don't know what's happening with some other people. So I really hope that people watch this movie and that there's enough buzz for them to continue making the next film to see how it ends. So it's a
I'm
very
gonna go.
smart film.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch it. The funny thing is, I saw it advertised a million times on my Prime, and because I think maybe because of the image and because of the title,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was either just some cheap, like almost not a like a young adult movie. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
why. For some reason, that's what it struck me as I would look at the title and look at the cover image they use. So then I just didn't bother.
yeah. No, no, no.
But now I'm going to bother because obviously I love my zombie movies.
Oh yeah,
There were a few zombie movies this year that were wasn't the year. 2024 was not the year for zombies.
no.
There were a couple decent ones. I think that movie Outside is on Netflix.
Mm,
I think it's a Filipino
Korean?
movie, a
Oh,
Korean, or
Filipino. Okay.
I think it's Filipino. That one was really good. I enjoyed it. Um, there was another one. Was it called Mads? I think on
Yeah,
Shutter.
Math was on my
Uh,
list and I didn't get to watch it.
yeah, I don't know. A lot of people really enjoyed it. Some people enjoyed it. It's a one-shot film.
Yeah,
Um, which is interesting, but it's also French. So the French isn't a problem. It's just again sometimes having to read. Sometimes with subtitled movies, I find I'm reading the subtitles more than I'm watching the movie.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, I kind of got halfway through it, and I do need to finish it. So, like I said, not a banner year for the zombie, but still a
yeah.
handful of solid movies that are worth watching.
And I feel this one is definitely a solid movie. They don't spend a lot on big sets and explosives. All this, the makeup is done well, but
Mm,
a lot of it circles around him and his trying to understand what's going on and what he can do to meet up with his sister and their and that
mm.
family. So definitely check it out. I
We'll
believe
watch
it
it.
was on Netflix.
It's on Prime, I
Prime.
think.
Okay, Prime.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Okay.
watch a zombie movie later today, which is gonna be LSU's football team. So that'll be watch
Yeah, Roll Tide.
watch The Walking
So,
Dead. Watch The Walking Dead on whatever.
all right. Well, my other honorable mention is a film I just watched just last week. Stumbled upon it. It is called Carnage for Christmas. And it's so first of all, it is a LGBTQ plus centric horror film that doesn't, I don't think, doesn't really make it the central point of the movie.
Hmm.
It just happens to be that a bunch of the characters in the movie um, are of that persuasion. It's
Okay.
all about a true crime podcaster who has, when she was young, found the body of a um, murdered person that sparked. I think it's in. Mm, I think they're in New Zealand. They've got that accent. Oh, or Australia. And
Okay.
because it's Christmas time, she's coming back. And on her podcast, she tells the story of this guy who dressed up as Santa Claus in the 20s, made wooden toys and gave them out dressed as Santa Claus, but you found out later that he was a mass serial killer. And that
Hmm.
the by her telling the story has supposedly reawakened him, and now he's back in town killing people. So it's really good. I did not see the killer manifesting, So I really enjoyed that, and I did think that a bunch of the characters were very strong. It kind of I used to love to read Encyclopedia Brown when I was a kid,
Uh-huh.
so I got this big Encyclopedia Brown feel from this movie. But again, it's called Carnage for Christmas, and I definitely say to watch it.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, I will definitely be on the lookout for it. I'm giving it a quick little IMDb search right now, and yeah,
and
this one slipped under my radar, that's for
yeah.
sure. But yeah, I well, and man, that'd have been a good Christmas watch.
And it's really cool because there have been some podcasting horror films. I mean, the new Halloween starts out that
Mhm.
way, or the third part of Halloween starts out that way. But this really did it well, and like I said, I enjoyed it. It's not a high budget film by any means, but it's with the money they had, they shot it well. So anyway, check that out. And that is our honorable mentions.
Yes,
So I
yes.
think we're done so far.
Mm.
Um, we've got 8 movies for you guys to go out and check out if you haven't already. And Mr. Mark, I would like you to give us your fifth favorite horror film of
My
2024.
number my number five favorite horror movie of 2024 is going to be The Substance.
The Substance. It's a match.
It's really number five also?
No, number 3, but.
Oh, well, okay. Well, yeah, it's just I love it when horror movies have a message.
Mm-hmm.
So many times people are like horror movies are just gross and they're just for shock value, but so many people just don't realize the messages that are contained within so many horror movies and how many times it is just a vessel for commentary on social issues, on the current climate, on political issues, on everything. And this is
Romero
one.
did it best,
Of
back to
course,
Die of
of
the Living Dead.
course. Yeah. So, this one stars Demi Moore, who does a fantastic job. She plays somebody named Elizabeth Sparkle, who it's strange. This movie feels like it takes place in the 80s, but like maybe a few years ahead of the 80s in a weird dystopian version of the 80s where where it's modern times but still the 80s, where somehow the number one show is a workout, I guess a Jane Fonda-esque
Right.
workout show. And Demi Moore's character Elizabeth is basically told by her psychotic boss Dennis Quaid, who I've never seen Dennis Quaid play just an unhinged jerk before, because he's usually always the good guy,
Hmm?
usually always just the moral compass of a movie, and but he must have had a blast being a complete
Oh,
jerk in
what?
this movie. And then Demi Moore realizes that they are going to be casting her replacement and that she is too old, she's aged out, and they need and Demi Moore looks fantastic. I think she played a
Oh,
50-year-old.
what?
She played a 50-year-old, even though I think she's 60, and she looked fantastic in this movie. But she was told that she's too old and you're being replaced, and she gets a call
Yeah.
from a mysterious person about something called the substance, where if she takes it, then a newer, better, younger version of herself will emerge. And boy, I don't think she realized that she was going to get, Margaret Qualley erupting from her back. And
Mm-hmm.
Margaret Qualley plays her name is Sue in the movie, and Sue becomes an overnight sensation, and then Sue gets a taste of stardom and then doesn't want to give it back. And then you realize the relationship between Elizabeth and Sue, and that there's
Right.
rules to this. You have to switch back every 7 days. And then we start to see the horrors unfold when Sue starts to kind of push that limit. And what happens to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth tries to get her own revenge, but
Yeah.
um the movie just had a great message. It had a message. It really had a commentary on Hollywood, commentary on the way Hollywood treats, female actresses. Definitely had things to say about, age and a person's value. And then, of course, the last 30 minutes is where it either made or break a lot of people. It
Yeah,
basically became Evil Dead, um, which is wild. A lot of a lot of metaphors there, a lot of symbolism, a lot of things that, I think too many people saw it and they're like, this is what's actually happening, when in reality, this isn't what's happening. This is what's, it's giving you a message. And
right.
the ending, I think, is the very ending is perfect, where spoiler, she basically her face crawls to her star on the Walk of Fame. It dissolves into it, and the very next day, a street cleaner comes and just washes it off, and
Yeah.
there you go. And then you start all over again. But I just thought the movie was fantastic. It was
Mm.
body horror done so well, and like I said, all the actresses and actors were fantastic also. And I mean, I could go back and rewatch it for Margaret Qualley alone. Goodness,
Yeah.
smoke show. But yeah, that is my number five, The Substance, and I believe I rented it on Prime. So
Yeah. Well, I went
um,
and got it on that movie um, and signed up for the 7 day, and I decided to go ahead and pay for the first month, and then I'll just
okay.
probably cancel it after that. Give them a
Yeah.
little, little something. But yeah. Okay. Well, I will have to parry that one with a completely different film. It is Lisa Frankenstein. Now, did you get a chance to see this one?
I did. I
Okay.
did.
It is
Yeah.
definitely not a movie for everybody. It has very John Hughes meets Tim Burton vibes. It is, again, feels like it's set in the 80s. You've got, the neon and the tanning beds and everything. And basically, it's the story of this girl, Lisa, who spends a lot of her time in a cemetery. And there, especially at the grave of this handsome young Dylan or Cole Sprouse guy. And she pines, for her to be with him in death. But as the way things go, he ends up being resurrected and comes to her. And so she does everything a young girl would do, which is turn him into everything she wants. It does not quite work out. We watched it with Lily, and Tina and I both all watched it. Again, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good mesh of horror um, and teen films. The,
Mhm.
um, some of the stuff was a little absurd, but the absurdity was tongue in cheek, I felt. So as long as you sat down and enjoyed it for what it was and didn't think it was necessarily a modern retelling of Frankenstein, then especially if you're a John Hughes fan, you would I think enjoy this film very much.
Yeah. It's one of those movies that's one of those great yeah, like one of those intro horrors. It's definitely more horror comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Diablo Cody wrote the screenplay. She always has that kind of whip crack dialogue that's
Yep.
made her popular for what she's done. Catherine Newton stars in it. She's Catherine Newton's basically become horror royalty at this point with all the horror movies she's been in, which are just tremendous. That seems to be her bread and butter. She's a scream queen for sure, at a young age. So yeah, I watched it. I believe it was streaming on either Peacock or Paramount, one of those, and I had heard about it, and then it came up for streaming, so I watched it. I mean, I think you nailed it. It is a fun, gore, not gory, but goofy. There's a lot of dark humor in it. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I can't say it was one of my favorites of the year, but I am glad I checked it out.
Well, and that's what makes these lists great is because you come for the five, and you stay for the 20 we talk about.
Right. I mean, completely different vibe for sure from most movies that came
It
out this
is.
year.
It
But
is. And it is definitely one of the only films with some levity in it on my list for sure.
Yeah.
Everything else is just not, knife to the bone horror. So if you're looking
Hmm.
for a little break, watch this about halfway through, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's pop back over to your number four.
My number four has some levity. Um, it's got a lot of stuff mixed in with it, but my number four is Abigail.
Okay, another Catherine Newton film.
Yes, another Catherine Newton film. So Abigail is
Mhm.
it's a movie about a group of I guess mercenaries.
Yeah.
They kidnap the young daughter of a crime boss and hold her for ransom. And then they realize that the little girl that
Oops.
they kidnapped is definitely not what they expected. Alicia Ware plays Abigail, and she's fantastic. She steals the
God,
movie.
she's so good in this movie.
She really is. And the movie has so much humor, and it's got so much gore. And it is one of those movies where I just sat back and I said, this is why I love horror movies. It is my definition of a fun horror movie. You are going to have chills, you're going to have laughs. The whole cast, it's so well casted. Like you said, Catherine Newton, I think Angus MacLeod, this was his last movie before he
Angus Cloud. Yeah.
unfortunately, okay, he unfortunately passed away. I think the guy,
Giancarlo Esposito.
yes,
Mhm.
he's in every movie.
Yeah.
Um,
A show and series.
And yeah, I think anybody who watches it, you will recognize everybody who's in it. I think my favorite was Dan Stevens. He plays Matthew in what's that show? Downton Abbey.
Oh God.
And he's such a jerk in this show when in this movie when he was so like lovable as Matthew in Downton Abbey. And I'm just like watching it, and I was like, Matthew wouldn't say that. I was like, what? Um, but yeah, I mean, I think this is just like I said, my definition of what horror movies can be, and they are an incredibly fun time. I wish I would have seen this movie in theaters because this is definitely a movie that was made to be watched with other people because I can only imagine there were many laughs and
Oh yeah.
cheers and just yeah. Yeah. So highly recommend Abigail. Sat at my number one for a while. Um but eventually got bumped down. But it's a fantastic movie.
I totally agree with you. Um, so moving on to match your number four is a movie you've already talked about, Oddity.
Mhm.
I cannot say enough good things about this film. It is what you can do when you first focus on a story, and then your actors, and then your setting, and then if you have some money left, yeah, you can do a few practical effects. But so much of this movie takes place in your own mind as to what am I seeing here, what's really happening here. I love the fact that the sisters are twins, but look nothing alike. And I don't remember if you hit this, but so the first sister is killed by someone who breaks into the home when she's by herself in this Scottish English kind of small manor that they're redoing. And then the sister left alive is blind. I believe she has albinoism, and she can also touch things and read those items. And just, I mean, I can't say enough about it. It was really really well done, and I love when people get their comeuppance, and this is a movie that will not disappoint you when it comes to that. Um, and again, I'm not going to spoil it, but one of my favorite things is this life-size golem style sculpture that the blind sister brings to the house. That, wait, did it just move? No, it didn't move. It's just, no, it moved. And so, really watch and focus on what's going on, because you're going to see things in the peripheral of the movie, and you're like, okay, did I see that? And there was a couple times I had to back up and say, did I see that or not? But definitely cannot agree with you more. Oddity is definitely a favorite for 2024.
You'll never ring a bell for a bellhop ever again.
No, you will not.
That also the scene that was really creepy was the very beginning when her sister was still alive, and then you have that scene where you have a man appears at her door asking to
With
be
the one
let in
eye going off to the side.
yeah, with like the one eye asking to be let in to help her, and you really don't know what is going on and what
Right.
is what, and it was such a good movie. Such a good
Yeah.
movie. So, yep.
Definitely
Totally
check
agree.
that one out. All right. Well, let's bump now to your number three.
Number three is a movie that I was so excited to watch, and it did not disappoint at all. And it is Alien Romulus.
Yes.
When I found out that an Alien movie was going to be directed by Fede Alvarez, who directed the remake of Evil Dead, which I love that movie. I knew we were going to get a gritty, grim, dark, intense Alien movie, and boy, did we!
They delivered.
Oh, they delivered. Kaylee Spaney plays Rain, and David Johnson, who was fantastic, plays Andy, who is her android brother
Brother.
slash protector, and basically they get brought along. They want to escape the colony that they're living in because it's basically just forced slavery, working at a mining colony. And her friends say, hey, look, there is out in orbit, there is a station that has the fuel we need for our what are the hypersleep chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And but we need your android brother friend to come and help us get in. And when they break in, you realize that you are now in a direct sequel to the movie Alien.
Right.
And the horror is ramped up, the thrills, the tension. I personally love the ending because it brought along, it tied in Prometheus and all the other alien. I forget what was the last one. There's Prometheus. Then there was the movie with
Covenant.
yes, Alien Covenant, and then Alien. I did a rewatch of all those movies in order, in order of how they would have been in the timeline,
Yeah.
um, before watching this movie. So I went and caught every single Easter egg.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
the dumbest thing I saw for the criticism of this movie is that so many people complain that it was a fan service film. It's like, oh,
What's wrong with that?
uh, you didn't do anything new. You just gave
Oh,
the
that's not
fan.
true.
You
They
get,
did
and
a
that's
lot.
not true. They did a lot new, and it's like you just gave the fans what they wanted. You just, all the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
There's even a lot of callbacks to the Aliens movie, which,
Mm-hmm.
you know, obviously hadn't happened yet in the universe timeline. But yeah, there's nothing sillier than when I see people online just complain about, you gave us too much of what we wanted. We're angry. And I'm like, what? It's like, no. It's like what they gave you was a intense, scary alien movie that, I mean, it vaults into, I think, the top three with Aliens, however you wanna flip those, one or two,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. And then Alien Romulus for me would be a solid three, and
Yeah.
not far behind the other two.
And I love the fact that, like you said, this is a direct sequel. I think it's about 20 years later. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
think so.
Aliens was about 75 years. So about 55 years after this movie. So a lot of those details are still fresh, coming from the Alien movie, and yet they they take, because Alien and Aliens are such different films. You basically have a haunted house in space, and then you have a just full out, thrill action, blowed up stuff, real good movie. So I feel like this one took a lot of those elements and mashed them together, because you do have the station. But oh my God, there's so many cool scenes in here. Um, the only thing I think I could have done without was the contrived member of the group who hates robots, who hates androids. It
Right.
was it was kind of overdone. I mean, you knew this guy was coming, and he was the only way you're going to get to where you want to go. Yet you're going to treat him like a complete piece of machinery and make everybody's life more difficult. It
No,
made no sense.
no, they did explain that though. That
Yeah, no, they told you why.
yeah, they told you why. And I mean, yes, I agree. But you always, I guess movies also need to have that jerk that you just, the second you meet him, you're just like, I can't wait. Can't
Yeah.
wait for him to get what he gets. And I like the fact that I think of all the kills in the movie, everyone gets killed a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, the weird word to use is fun, but it is.
Yeah.
And you really get to see the alien, the xenomorph blood on display.
Yes.
There's that wonderful scene where they're in zero gravity with the acid swirling around them. That's incredible. Uh,
Yes.
but
And for
yeah,
me, it was when you see the baby xenomorph through the where she's using like the light that acts like an X-ray, and you could
hmm.
see it in the rib cage moving around before. That was really neat.
What was the name? Who was the actor in the original who played the he was the old Hobbit. What was his name? Is it
But the one that it came out of, John Hurt.
no, no, no. I was thinking like in the first, is it
Oh, the alien. I mean, the android in
the
the first
yeah,
one.
yeah, the android and alien who kind of makes a reappearance in Alien Romulus.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
I'm gonna tell you,
see.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Ian
His
Holm
name, yes, Ian Holm.
played
So
Ash.
yeah, so Ian Holm posthumously makes a his ending, his acting
Yeah.
credits aren't over
No,
through
no.
through the beauty of software and whatever. He
Mhm.
appears in this movie, and like I said, it really just
Yeah.
ties it all
And it
together.
made sense. The
Yes,
way they
yes,
played it made sense.
yes. So I loved it. I mean, I knew I liked it when I saw it in theaters, had a blast, and then it is streaming on Hulu, and I watched it
Hmm.
again and loved it just as much as when I saw it in theaters.
Yeah. And I like the fact that it it did have that connectivity, and call it what if you fan service. I don't care if you do it right. We're going to watch it. We're
Right.
going to watch it, and we're going to love it. Um, but I got to say, Hulu is really doing a good job bringing us some of the horror. Especially around Halloween when they have those little films that they put out that are just on Hulu. So
Hmm.
yeah, they're not the Netflix and the Amazon, but they're doing a great job of bringing us some good horror. They brought
Yeah.
us Prey. Yeah. So no, that was a
Yes.
great choice. I really like that. Aliens Romulus.
Yep. My
So,
number three.
well, my number three is another match that we've already talked about, and it is The Substance.
Mm.
One of the things I wanted to bring up was the fact that Ray Liotta was originally going to be playing the Quaid's character. He was cast in, I think, February or March, but passed away in May. So they turned around and gave it to Dennis Quaid. And if you notice in the credits at the end, he gets a
Hmm.
thank you for it.
Hmm.
So I thought it was really great. Where you talked about it had an Evil Dead feel to it, I feel, and of course, I'm always looking for this film and other films. I thought it very much had a Frankenhooker end with all the body parts and stuff. You know, uh, I read it or watched an interview where Margaret talks about the fact that she's actually in a suit and she can't feel anything because everything is coated. So she's bumping into things and doesn't know it. She can only see out of one eye, and she was sweating like crazy in it. But it was done in a way that was like, oh, okay, I see us going here, but let's go, let's ride. Um, and just again, I really, really enjoyed it. Um, I was kind of surprised um, at how quickly she disintegrates. But I'll tell you, for me, one of those number one spots was when her finger, the first day, that was to me probably the as crazy as this sounds, the most horrific part of the transformation because I didn't see that coming. I thought
No.
she was going to wake up and just be older. But just to have that one gnarly finger, man, that was
It
something
set
else.
it set the tone so well also because you're like, oh, this is what can happen, and it's not going to end there.
Yeah,
So I'm just now I'm intrigued and I'm like, well, what's going to happen now? Because we know Sue's character is just going to get totally just out of control when it
yeah,
comes to and it's so funny because it's like I knew when she was told that, hey, we want you to host our New Year's Eve special, the first thing I thought about was, oh, I hope she checked their calendar.
yeah. Me
Um,
too.
I hope they checked the calendar, and sure enough, it does not match up, and
Yeah,
and Sue ain't going back. And I
uh,
really love that moment at the end when Sue injects herself with the substance, and I'm like, well, what's gonna pop out of her?
right.
Stupid me, I'm thinking like a baby is gonna come out of her. Um,
Oh yeah,
and no, we get this complete monstrosity mashup of Sue and Elizabeth that's
mm,
just a monster.
yeah.
Which is I think that there's that message of what Hollywood creates.
Hmm.
They create and then at the very end they destroy. Um,
Exactly. I did find it, and I'm sure it was done on purpose. I did find it interesting that when the Sue monster shows up and she's in the same costume that she was supposed to wear for the New Year's Eve,
mhm.
and nobody notices, and again, I'm not, you know, super intuitive about what these writers are writing, but I definitely thought it was a message of that Hollywood is seeing what they want to see
Mhm.
and not what's real in front of them. Um, just thought it was just really, really good. And then in the end, when they show what she is, man, you're looking for pitchforks and
All
torches to
right.
come out, you
It
know?
becomes like Frankenstein.
Uh-huh.
They
Uh-huh.
they start chasing her, and yeah, it's what you said. It's like, well, what is happening at the end can't be actually what's happening in real life because
Right.
she's a grotesque monster with her a cutout of her face
Yeah.
like stapled to her face, and and then she's just up front and everyone's in like tuxedos clapping and drinking champagne like, oh, this is totally normal.
Yeah.
Um,
She's in
and
the
yeah,
elevator with the guy and he like doesn't
yeah.
even notice.
He doesn't even notice. So what's real, what's not? I mean, like I said, I think from that point on, the movie just went full send with metaphor, and but I like that. I like the message that it had, and I like that it's gonna have you talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So it was a great movie and a great match.
Yeah.
So this is the part of the show now where we're going to stop for just a minute, and let's recap what you did for 2024. So you had
Uh,
your your new version of Cannibal Fat Camp in the hardcover come out. You had your game come out. Um, what else?
the Pat came out, which I was really happy to see. It came out in October, actually the very end of October, um, and then it really was a hit at the shows I did to end the year. Which makes me really excited for it to get a full run next year. Well, tomorrow. with the shows that I have lined up. Um, no, it was just I was reflecting on it, today. It was another really good year of getting out there, doing shows, meeting new people. Um, got a lot of books into people's hands. Have a lot of great plans for 2025. As far as anthologies go, as far as publishing some other people go, I'm kind of getting into that. Some exciting news. I have a meeting.
Gabagool.
Yeah, Gabagool will be we're editing that right now. I'm working on an anthology for wrestling horror stories. There's gonna be an anthology for cryptids. Um, and then I have a scratch to do an anthology about stories set during the bubonic plague.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
because I just really find that whole time period fascinating. I think that'd be a lot of fun. There's my own writing, which I mean, I have several projects that I'm trying to trying to get to. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a couple books that I want to finish next year. Um, so yeah, 2024 was great. I'm focusing next year on doing more horror conventions, doing more author conventions, maybe not so many pop culture conventions. I feel like maybe I've kind of hit my limit when it comes to local pop culture shows and their reach. And, it's kind of a lot of them, it's the same people, the same vendors, the same venue.
Great
It's
people. Great.
great,
Yeah,
sure,
but it's the same
sure,
faces.
great people, but it's getting a little stale, and also it's really not it's not my audience. So I'm looking to do shows where I can get in front of the readers, get in front of the horror fans, and celebrate that with them. But yeah, 2024, I haven't run the numbers yet, but I mean, I know I sold hundreds of books, which is just that's an honor and a thrill for an author of my level, which is just why I wanted to start doing these shows. So I
Oh,
could
I,
get
I
out.
agree with you. I can't believe people buy your stuff. Um,
Right. So
oh,
many
I mean,
tables
that's
are
not what I
not
meant.
so many tables are not wobbling anymore. Um, I was just thinking, I know several people bought my books to give as Christmas gifts. Um, and I was just thinking when I don't know, Kristen had gotten me a book for Christmas, and I was just thinking, somewhere out there, someone opened a present that had my books in it. They probably
I
said,
bought
"What
them
the
for
hell?"
white elephant gifts, and
Right. Oh, they're gag gifts. You
no,
gag when
nobody
you read
stole
them.
it. You know.
Right. No, I mean, you read it and you're like, no, somebody out there has got him as a gift. And like I said, they probably said, what the hell? And, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a sale's a sale. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of exciting projects coming up for 2025. I'm very much looking forward to see, hopefully you and I are talking at the end of 2025, doing another recap and we're talking,
I don't know.
we're
This one's
talking
kind of right now, so we'll have to
we're
see.
talking about what a great year it's been. So yeah, 2024 was a very good year. I'm looking forward
Good.
to a new year as well.
Me too. I got a lot that's going to be coming up in 2025. You and I are working on a few things that we're going to kind of sprinkle out through the weeks just to keep our conversations going. And we've even got your lovely wife is going to be coming on the show in 2025,
Hmm.
along with my wife. And we're going to talk about some of our favorite Beatles songs. And then, of course, one of the best things about meeting you is getting to be your friends, who I like so much more.
Hmm.
So it's been really great.
Yeah, well, get to know them. I mean, you're you're in that first date phase with my friends. You gotta get to know them a little more, and then you'll realize, I maybe took Mark for granted. Um, no, they're all.
Yeah,
I was reflecting the other day at Christmas Day. I had a bunch of friends over, and I am surrounded by a very talented, special group of people that,
yeah,
I mean, they all bring their own talents to the table, and it's very unique to have that many people, together who can just bring so many things, so many different
yeah,
things.
and I
Um,
actually like you.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm amazed that people hang around me. I mean, it's. So I'm sure it has something to do with the girls. It's got to, But
Hmm.
well, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to 2025 myself. It's going to be a great year. But before we get there, we have two more films that we want to talk about that were absolute favorites in 2024. So give me your number two.
My number two was one that I'd heard so much hype about, and I didn't know how it could live up to the hype, but everything surrounding it, I thought it would be a movie that would resonate with me, and it did. And it is the movie Long Legs.
It's a match. Two for two.
Oh yeah,
That's
two
my
for
number
two.
two as well.
Okay, cool. Well, then we can talk about this one freely.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Silence of the Lamb meets Exorcist, if I had to describe it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Mika Monroe plays like an FBI detective that is on the trail of a serial killer played by Nicolas Cage, who Nicolas Cage is not in the movie for very long, but when he is in the movie, it is so unsettling and dreadful and tense that you're hooked by his performance.
Yes.
That same sense of tension and dread is throughout the entire film as the story is unraveling and as you're uncovering what is really at play here and how can these things be happening. And I like that it was a serial killer movie that had a twist of paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also love, I don't know if you caught it, but throughout the film, whenever the killer Longlegs was around, you could see the devil in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of when they have the little special hidden things in the background, and it just makes
Yeah,
it
like
so
Red in Sixth
yeah.
Sense.
Yes, or even like
Mm-hmm.
House on Haunted Hill, where they had the ghost in the background the entire time. I just love that they're just a silent background character that just shows they're always there and always watching. But I um I think I rented it on yes, I rented it on Prime on Halloween night. It was my Halloween treat to
Oh,
myself. I was like, I want to watch a horror movie, and this one's out. And I think it was probably $5.99. It wasn't ridiculous. Um and I watched it. I think I watched it three times, which is very rare.
wow.
I usually watch a movie once and I'm done. And I watched it. Yeah, I ended up watching it three times because it didn't have a very overly long runtime. Um, but it is
Yeah.
just yeah, it is a movie that I got so much out of on the second and third rewatches. But I thought it fully lived up to the hype. It got a lot of those scariest movie ever and whatever. But I really think it lived up to the hype as an unsettling movie and a Hannibal Lecter-esque performance by Nicolas Cage.
Yes. And you've also got to talk about Blair Underwood as the lead agent,
Hmm.
um, and Alicia Witt, who played her mother. Um,
Hmm.
you know, she is just a very multi-talented actress. And if you've ever seen her on, like, I mean, she was in Orange is the New Black, but a lot. She was in Two and a Half Men, and I don't know if you've watched that one, but she's
Yeah.
Jake's teacher at first, and then she falls for not Alan but Charlie, and then she kind of like has a mental break, and then they see her again later, and she's become an exotic dancer, and then he hires her to to teach Jake because he's not doing well in school, and then you find out she becomes this religious zealot, and I'm like, wow, this woman's got a gambit,
Hmm.
But I really thought she was good in this. Did not see the ending coming, and the scene where they're at Agent Carter's house, and
Hmm.
she comes in, and it's surreal as to what's going on in that room at that time.
Hmm.
And I just again I can't disagree with you by any means. This is definitely a movie that has been hyped that I did not watch until we sat down to do this list. Um, I'm really not one to go out and rent movies a lot, because I can generally avoid spoilers
Hmm.
by and large. So I hadn't seen it yet, but I knew that this was going to be one that I would have to watch. And again, not disappointed. It is also my number two. And if you haven't seen it, I would tell you to go out and watch it. It's a very good. I used to say that Nicolas Cage was his Nicolas Cageiest in Ghost Rider: Spirits of Vengeance.
Hmm.
This is a close tie. I mean,
Yeah, he lets him be Nicolas Cage to this, I don't know, some unlocked psychotic degree, and he's so
yeah,
good at it. Just as
yeah,
the wild scenes where he'll start singing, or
bashing his head.
yeah, when he bashes his head, it's just he is so when he's so creepy and
Yeah,
unsettling looking. Yeah, I think the director was Osgood Perkins, and he did a he's done a couple horror movies,
he
nothing
was the
really that.
writer too.
Yeah, yes, and he's the writer, so he's definitely a director who will be on my watch list now. As far as like, kind of like Fede Alvarez or Ari Aster, and then Robert Eggers is another one of like if they whatever they're putting out, I'm watching.
Yeah, yeah, I'm agreeing. All right. Well, before we get to your number one, and I'm sure I know what your number one is, there are several other movies that we haven't talked about that definitely deserve a shout out. Of course, In a Violent Nature,
Mhm.
it is definitely a callback to some of the early Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th films before they went into their massive sequel universes. Um, I know you've talked about this one before. You really liked it.
I loved it. Yeah, In a Violent Nature is on my honorable mentions, my true honorable mentions. That one made it. Another one is Terrifier 3,
Yeah.
which I can't recommend anyone should watch. Um, and I think I was watching it. It's a Christmas movie, which says something.
There you go.
And I am just watching it. It is completely brutally gory, over the top, and I am not even flinching. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Are you
Like,
eating your Art the Clown cereal?
yeah, it's like I'm just like eating food while watching this, and like I'm just like, what is wrong with me? I'm like, this should horrify me, but it does not. It is gore porn to the nth degree, and but still very fun.
Yep. Quiet
I'll just
Place, Day One.
yeah, yes, Quiet Place Day One is it was definitely on the honorable mentions. It was just a fun little prequel.
Yeah.
That kind of continued that universe, and it had some really good actors in it as well, so that was a fun one. The year 2024 was known for its nun horror movies. You had The First Omen,
Mm-hmm.
which was really good, and also you had Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney. um they were almost the same movie. They were definitely they were very similar. Your typical trope of nun gets impregnated with son of Satan and fights to stop it. But they were both very, very fun movies to watch. And I'll just name my other two. Was the movie a Shutter movie? It was a French movie called Infested, which
Yes.
which was about a bunch of deadly spiders. It was kind of like arachnophobia on crack. And then there was another movie I watched recently on Hulu called Cuckoo.
I was
Um,
going to ask you about that. I didn't get a
yeah,
chance to watch it.
it was a really solid movie. A German movie that's in English about a young girl who is taken in by her father after her mother dies, and then you find out that this place that they're living is basically like a science lab for these things that look like people, but they're actually kind of like the cuckoo birds, where they're basically they take over, as they move in, like a cuckoo bird will move into the nest, lay its eggs in
Oh, yeah.
another bird's nest and take over. It's similar to that, but
Ah,
definitely worth a watch.
yeah. Okay. Um, Also, there was VHS Beyond
Yes,
that came
that's
out.
yes, yep.
Overall, it was fun. There were one or two that were kind of like, and then there was one that was like, holy crap, what are we watching?
I think the
Big
first
Bird
one.
Comes from Outer Space.
Yes, yes.
But
The
I
first
thought
the
that one
first
was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the
And
first installment, the first installment in VHS Beyond, I think it was like playing a video game. It was like
Yeah,
first person shooter. That was one of the better VHSs in a while. I love the VHS
I do
series.
too.
And I love that they come out in October, so now it's starting to become like a little Halloween tradition to watch them
Yeah,
on Shudder.
a gift to us.
Hmm.
Did you get a chance to see Arcadian, also with Nicolas Cage?
Like I said, we had talked about it. I watched half of it, and then for some, you know why I stopped watching is because the internet was like getting buggy and glitchy, and I was like, you know
Yeah.
what, I'll finish this later.
So
But it had a lot of good, I know,
it
buzz around
does.
it.
The end kind of leaves you a little wanting, but I would tell you, I think I told you this too, stick around until you see the monsters. And you
Hmm.
really get to see them because it's unlike any monster I've ever seen.
Okay.
And I really liked what they did with it. I also watched another one that I really enjoyed until the very end, and I think it was on. It was either Shutter or Netflix. It's called "You'll Never Find Me,"
Mm.
and so basically, there's only like two people in the whole movie. Um, they show up. This girl shows up in the middle of a rainstorm in what I think is out Australia, and the guy, you think he was about ready to commit suicide by drinking a poison, and there's this kind of cat and mouse game between the two of them, and both of them have, I don't know, a mystery around them.
Hmm.
But it was very well acted, and you find out that the girl um, may be there for an entirely other reason than she thinks she's there. So again, it would definitely be one of the long list favorites. Um,
The the only movie I couldn't get to this year that I really wanted to was Heretic.
yeah,
You know, just couldn't do the $20 rent um, on Prime, and I feel once I get to watch it, I'm probably going to vault it somewhere in this list.
hmm,
But alas, I can't watch them all.
okay, I'm with you.
I'm trying to,
The
but I
other
can't.
one, my last one, did you see Azrael with Samara
No, but
Weaving?
no, because I like Samara Weaving. She's another one who's kind of like a little scream queen s actress because she's just been in a lot of great horror movies.
It's funny that you called her a scream queen
Mhm.
because she does not speak through the entire movie.
Really?
Um, Actually, there's only one person who speaks in the entire movie. So it is I was explaining it to my daughter and her fiance last night, and I don't know what was going on,
Right.
but I did enjoy it. It was a brutal film. Um, because there are it's after it actually takes place after the rapture, where the people who are left have given up the sin of speech and live their lives without speaking. As a matter of fact, they go through a little procedure thing that cuts their vocal cords, so they can't speak, they can't scream. It and it's Samara Weaving and her boyfriend, lover, something, against this whole group of religious fanatics. Um, so I would tell you, if you're just sitting around one day, but it's not a movie that you can put on and while you're doing something else.
Mhm.
You have to watch it to see what's going on. Um, I was surprised because I've read some really good reviews of it, and I love Samara. I mean, Ready or Not, really a great film.
Yeah.
Um,
And The Babysitter.
oh yeah, The Babysitter. Yeah.
Those are so fun as well. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no,
All right.
I will check it out. I saw it pop up on Shutter, and I'm like, all of this appeals to me, and for some reason, I just didn't make the time to write it,
Yeah.
to
Well, I
watch
am
it.
definitely going to check out Cuckoo and that Sydney Sweeney Nun movie.
Yes,
And
I think it's on Hulu. They're both on Hulu actually,
okay,
Immaculate and Cuckoo. So I would
um,
check them out.
I'm definitely going to put those on my list right now. And I also am going to try to watch in 2025 Succubus,
Mm,
which is the full movie based on the creature from the very first VHS film, the
Okay.
girl that the guys
Yeah.
bring back to the hotel room. So I didn't know
Okay.
this, but they made a whole movie about her.
That's fun. I
Yeah.
got to meet her at a
Yeah, you said that
convention.
before.
We went to a terrible convention in Arkansas. Literally nobody came to it. And they had she was one of the horror guests. And I mean, we were just sitting next to each other and super friendly. And it was cool
Yeah.
to come up there and tell her, like, hey, look, I want to let you know out of the VHS shorts, yours stuck out in my head the
Oh,
most.
for sure.
So and she was super friendly. So
That's
that's cool. I'll definitely have to check that out as well.
all right. Well, let's get to our number one. I'm going to go ahead and write it in pen in my book because I know what it is. But why don't you tell us?
My number one, which should come to no surprise, is I did a rewatch of the movie World War Z,
Yes.
and it's my
Same.
number one.
We met.
It's my number one. No, my number one is the movie I knew was going to be number one, and I'm so happy it was number one. It is Nosferatu. Um,
We
Robert
call it
Eggers.
Yes Ferratu.
Yes. Robert Eggers, in my mind, has made some of my favorite movies. The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman. Um, I just love his artistic style and he just makes a beautiful film. And Nosferatu is a haunting, horrific, and beautiful film. It is so gloomy, it's so snowy and snow covered, and you're just taken along by this incredible acting job by Lily Rose Depp, by Nicholas Hoult, by Bill Skarsgård, who is just so fantastic.
Skarsgård.
He's so fantastic as Count Orlok. Um, it's funny. I watched for the first time the original Nosferatu last night.
Oh,
I watched it last night, and it is the remake is a beefed up version of the original for sure. It was
really?
fun. It was yeah, watching the original was fun because it was kind of like watching the newest Nosferatu, but like I was getting kind of like a summary story
Mm-hmm.
of the newer movie. And
You know, it's 102 years old.
yes, oh yeah. And it still holds up really well for what they
Mm-hmm.
do. But 2024's Nosferatu to me is going to be vaulted into the horror classics category. I just thought it was everything I wanted in a horror movie that left
Yeah.
me thinking about it. It left me just captivated watching it. There was just to me no dull moment in that movie, and it's worthy of the praise. And I'm so glad you got Vertigo, so I could watch the movie.
You're welcome.
so so I could watch the movie because originally we were supposed to watch it a little earlier, and then that psycho storm came through, and
Mm-hmm.
I ended up moving our movie tickets to the next day, and I'm like, oh God, at any moment he's gonna say let's do this. I'm not gonna get to watch this,
Nope.
but I did. Nosferatu is it's so obviously I saw it 2 days ago. It's still so fresh in my mind. Um, but I just highly recommend everybody to go see it and enjoy it and enjoy a piece of what I like to call cinematic art. And
Mm-hmm.
there's such a negative connotation still with horror movies.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like watching a fairy tale unfold. And I have no negatives to say. It is my absolute number one, and I can't wait to watch it again.
That is awesome. Yeah, you seemed tickled as a schoolgirl after seeing it. So I knew that this was going to be.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
well, cool. Well, my number one, I watched late in the year. I actually watched it on a plane, headed to, I think I was when I was going to San Diego Comic Con, and instantly knew that it was probably my favorite film of the year. And we've already discussed it. It is Abigail. I just loved what they did with this little girl. And okay, you're not spoiling it by telling everybody she's a vampire. I mean, you look at the movie poster and you can
Yeah.
see
a
but she's
trailer.
this
Yeah.
little delicate porcelain ballerina doll that it just rips and leaps and tears into people. And you're just like, oh God, And I hate to say it, but she doesn't really start out as a bad character. I mean,
Mhm.
she is kidnapped and she is, you know, held by them, but I don't know. I really, really, really loved it. I've watched it again since then to make sure it wasn't just a high altitude thing that messed with me. Uh, and it had an ending that I did not see coming. Um, I definitely thought it was going to end one way, and they did a really good job of turning it into something else. I just can't say enough about it. I loved Abigail, and I think it was my favorite movie from 2020. Let me rephrase that. My favorite horror movie released in 2024.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember watching it and just smiling throughout the movie, and I'm just like, this is what horror movies are made for. This is why they're made for me.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing is I recommended it to my parents to watch, and they watched it, and I think they said during the movie, this is definitely a Mark movie. And then
Hey,
yeah,
you
it really,
created me.
yeah, it really was. I mean, it is just such. If we would have ended the year with Abigail, I would have probably have put Abigail at number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'll do a rewatch of Abigail and be like, oh,
Yeah,
like I said, this year was torture with
it
the
was.
list.
It really was.
So many good movies, so many good original movies. Um,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I
kind of
had
like.
to seriously trim down what I watched these last few weeks because I'm not a person who jumps out when a brand new movie comes out. Um, because there's so many classic films that I haven't seen yet. And so it's I have to go out and see something. So I had to really, like I said, tone down and watch some films and make sure they were in 2024 for this list. And I have you to thank for that, sir.
Well, I'm glad we were able to do this. I love any kind of year-end recap episodes or list of horror movies, and thank you very much for allowing us to sneak this one in and do it. I mean, this
Oh,
was a lot of fun, and I'm definitely gonna, post this on Facebook, my list, and get some conversation going. And
sounds great.
I can't wait.
And
I'll have the people that tell me what a good list, and then I'll have the people that tells me every movie sucks on the list, and I'm an idiot. So that's what
you're
makes
never going to win. So it doesn't matter.
no, never gonna win, but that's why it's our favorite. So there is
That's
no
right.
debate.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time and making this list and for the great idea. Kudos to you. And
Yeah.
I also want to thank all of you out there for listening to this episode, this final episode of 2024. We are thrilled that you joined us and hope you had a fantastic time. If you enjoyed the podcast, we would be incredibly grateful if you would leave us a review, if you would share a link, tell people about us. Anything that you can do, it's a free way for you to help us to grow the show. And, we need it. Your support means the world to us. And I have to say, even if you've listened to this entire episode and you decided this is just not the show for you, if you want to go ahead as a Christmas gift and just leave us a positive review, leave us 5 stars. Santa's already gone. He's really not looking at his naughty list at this part and probably won't go. You'll still be on the good list next year. So go ahead and just give us that. We'll be fine with it. You can connect with us on all our social media platforms, Twitter, X, the Gram, Facebook, even, ways to get in, keep the conversation going, and just to explore not only horror, but all the movies, all the pop culture, all the literature, everything that we like to talk about. We can't wait to share more content with you in the future. New episodes come out every Friday, unless they don't. So be sure to subscribe to us and follow us so you can catch all of the episodes. And remember, folks, it may not be the best. It may not be the most popular. But if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Thanks so much for joining us. Mark, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. By next week, I will have broken all my New Year's resolutions, but the one that I always stick to is to watch more horror movies. So long as that is your resolution, 2025 will be a great year.
Amen, brother. Amen. And buy your stuff. Go buy his stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Buy my stuff.
Take care, sir. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, bye.